Performing with AI. This is episode 151 of the BTS Creative Academy podcast, live and uncut. With me, your host, Martin Carlton, introducing actress and AI consultant, Karina Berkman. There you go. Good morning, Anna.
Good morning.
Hello. How are you?
Good. It's Saturday.
It's Saturday morning. I'll be completely honest. I overslept to get into my own front room.
It happens. It happens.
I was like, it's 10:30. How did that happen? Oh.
I mean, I was up early. I went to a body combat class.
That's how you should do it. That's how you should start your day. What
It's
exactly?
good. After a long week, it's a good thing to start the weekend with.
Yeah, release some energy, I guess.
I mean, for an entrepreneur, it's like something I would recommend.
Yeah. What is it about it that you would recommend?
It's just, it's good. It's a good way to like get out energy.
Yeah. What exactly do you do there at the class?
The body combat class,
Yeah.
it's not like an impact class. So you just they have different like boxing movements, kicking, just like jumping jacks. It's kind of like a hit workout, but with more fake fighting.
Okay. So do you get involved like one-on-one kind of situations or?
No. It's all like we're all facing forwards, just following follow the leader. Yeah.
Okay. And now we're here doing this. So you've
And
come
now we're
from
here. Exactly.
being in a fight, so we're here. So Anna, you have the same agent as me, acting agent, but that's
Yes,
not all
we
you do, is
do.
it?
Yes, we do. Flat 50 management, the best.
Yes, yeah. They're very good, very nice, very kind people at Flat 50 Management. How long have you been acting for them?
Uh, I mean, I did like really, really tiny commercials in Portsmouth back in 2018, 2019,
Mhm.
but that was very like early days. I also did like modeling early on. And then I was actually an actor on Britain's Got Talent in 2020 during the
Okay.
pandemic, which
Mhm.
was cool. It was my first time on national television, so I was really excited.
As an actor, as a contestant,
No,
or
so
you was hired in?
um because it was during the pandemic, I mean, mostly basically when the semifinalists are about to perform, they have a 60-second intro video, and normally it's them just talking about their life or whatever, they're at home. But this
Mhm.
particular contestant, Poppy Flex, was stuck in Belgium. And so he also wanted like a more theatrical entry to his set, and he's a contortionist. So they basically hired a few of us to do a scene in a graveyard at night, and then that was his 60-second intro video. So it went from Anton Deck explaining on stage, saying that he was stuck in Belgium and that it was pre-recorded, to like us in the graveyard, to then him performing his like crazy contortionist stuff. And we're still friends on Instagram, like Poppy Flex and I, so it's fun.
Wow. That sounds like that must have been an experience.
The graveyard. I mean, I didn't say anything in the script. I screamed. I had a lot of close-ups though, so it was really cool. But yeah, that was my first time on national television. And then very
Wow.
recently, I was credited in a Paramount Plus TV show, which is very exciting.
Mhm.
And I didn't know what my credit was going to be, but I was credited under co-stars. So I was like, yeah.
That's quite nice. What show was that?
It was the Knuckles TV show, which is the Sonic the Hedgehog spinoff.
Yes, I've heard of it. Yeah, yeah. In
So
fact,
yeah, it was.
I won't say I've heard of it. I started to watch the first episode actually. I
Okay, well,
quite
I'm
enjoyed
in the fifth episode. I have 13 words.
it. In which one? Sorry,
The fifth episode, I have 13 words.
I'll have to check. I'll have to continue watching it then because I did quite enjoy the Sonic movie. I thought it was fun.
I think my lines are, Pistol Pete, would it be all right if I got your autograph? And then they cut the bit being like, oh, okay, bye.
Nice.
Yeah,
So you've
that's it.
really dove headfirst into the acting world, then, haven't you?
I mean, I kind of
Straight
do it
in.
on the side of everything else I do. Because, I
Mhm,
mean, technically, if you're an actor, you're unemployed the vast majority of the time. So it's good to keep yourself busy doing other things that interest you, and
mhm,
also can like make you money so that you can have ideally the flexibility to be able to take on acting jobs, which is one of the reasons I thought starting a business was gonna be great because then I'd have the flexibility to take on jobs rather than if you're working full time, it's pretty complicated to be flexible
Mhm.
enough for certain things. And I've done a lot of extras work in the film industry as well. And then sometimes, get upgraded to a featured role or even speaking lines. But most of the time I've had 4 speaking lines cut in TV shows and movies, which is so sad because you wait like a
Oh,
year, 2 years for it to come out and you're like, "No, my scene's gone."
I know. I've
But
been I've been doing
that's
this job for
showbiz.
yeah, and I've been doing this job for 20 years, and the amount of times that has happened to me is unbelievable. It is heartbreaking when you put so much work into everything, and it just doesn't fit the final product, especially when you're a smaller role. Um,
I know.
you're
Ugh.
easy to cut.
I mean, my 2nd time ever on, like, a TV set 2nd time? Yes. No, 3rd time. So, in May 2021 was my first time on a proper TV set, which was for the Essex Serpent, which was cool. It was in the scene with, like, Claire Danes, and it was, like, a funeral scene, and that was sweet, and I was so
Mhm,
excited to be there. I was like, "This is amazing. I love it." And then a week later, I was on, A Very British Scandal with, like,
mhm,
Claire Foy and Paul Bettany, which was really cool. And then 2 weeks after that, I was on, Life After Life, and I mean, I would give this very strange piece of advice to people. Basically, if a director tells you guys, anyone, if you're extras, if you're an actor, whatever, if they tell you something, they're like, "Oh, I need more, like, I need you to be angry, or I need you to be happy, or I need you to be more scared." And they say it again. So you do the scene again, and they say it again. "I need you to be more of this." And then again, after the 3rd time, you know that they have safety. They basically have it filmed 3 times, and they're still asking for something more, so clearly whatever everyone's doing is not enough. On the 4th time, do something crazy. Go, like, way beyond because you can totally get away with it
mhm.
because they already have it in safety, and if you're gonna do something ridiculous, do it then. Because they said they wanted more, and you're like, "Fine, I'll give you more, I'll give you." And I learned that on my 3rd time on set, and it's a crazy story, but they cut it.
Yeah.
It would've been so cool.
Yeah, I find that with that cutting thing, it always happened to me when I told people about it. When I said to everyone, "I've got this line in this show or this film, and it's coming up," and then there'll be this pre-excitement, and then it would come on, and it would be like it would just cut just before I was about to speak.
I know, and you're like,
You're
"That
like,
sucks."
uh, by the way, everyone, yeah, that line's not happening. But yeah, I almost feel like there's something in that, like protecting the energy of whatever it is you're
Maybe.
doing, maybe, or just
I
bad
mean,
luck.
I was pretty sure that Knuckles was gonna stay in because the actors responded to what I said, and it was like an
Mm,
emotional thing between them, so I was like, "This is, like, character development, therefore it'll probably stay in." And then about 7 months after I'd filmed it, I got a message saying that, like, they want me to sign an equity contract and pay out residuals and stuff, and then, like, what I wanted my name to be in the credits, so I was like, "I feel like it's gonna happen," but you never really, really know because they could just still change their mind. But then I
yes, yeah.
found out on the day it was released, which was, like, April 26th, because I got a message on Instagram from someone in Argentina, and they're like, "Oh my god, I saw you on TV." And then they sent me, my scene in Spanish.
Mhm.
I
Oh, wow.
was like, "This is awesome. This is awesome."
Where you'd been dubbed, I presume.
No, like, on Paramount Plus, they had it translated in whichever country it was in, so,
Right,
I mean,
okay.
yeah, it wasn't me speaking Spanish, although they can do that
Yeah.
with AI now, so it could have been
Yes, yes.
my voice, but it wasn't.
Which I guess that takes us into what you do, t mentioning AI there.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you
Yes.
mentioned that as an actor, y
Mhm.
you can't just rely on that as your income. You have to do other things.
I
I
mean,
think I
unless you're
read a
incredibly privileged.
of course, yes, or yeah,
Yeah.
or in fact, there was an article in the Telegraph. Is it the Telegraph? It was one of the posher newspapers. There was an article. There was an article in there about I think it's 1 in 14 come from working class backgrounds in the performing arts. 1 in 14,
That's
because
not
it
a
is
lot.
just so. It's not a lot. It's because it's hard to. sustain this, to carry
Yeah,
on doing it, to look after yourself financially within the arts, and to get an income from it. So you either need another job, or you need money already. So you need
yeah,
money behind you to push you forward. Um,
yeah.
and
And if you make
so,
your own money enough of it, then you can create your own productions rather than hoping that someone hires you one day. Make that into
but
some epic show reels. Uh,
what percentage of people get that opportunity to do that, make such a vast amount of money to be able to look after themselves
oh,
from the art?
oh, from the arts, no.
Mm,
I'm gonna plan on making money other places, and then if I want to make documentaries or productions on my own, then I'll do that and submit them to film festivals or just like release them to the public. I think there's certain
mhm,
stories that just aren't being told because they're not marketable enough. I think that's a shame. But because things are
yes,
going to be easier to produce going forwards, there will be a lot of opportunities for the creatives to jump out.
yes, yeah, I believe that as well. I believe we're in an era where, if you want to be a storyteller, if you want to, in any form, whether that's movie making or documentaries or theatre, the tools available to you now are so readily available. If you
Yeah,
wanna get out there and film a story, you can pick up your phone, it's got a camera in there,
I
4K.
know.
We've got editing software that works pretty much on any laptop now. You
And you
don't
can
need
text a
special
video
tech.
with AI. Like if you wanted to create an entire animation or even like something photorealistic, you could.
Mhm. Yeah, so
I
you
mean,
can
there's like
bring.
skill sets beyond like for that, but it's all possible if you can self teach yourself pretty quickly.
So there's a cross between the technology and
Mhm.
the software, and the AI is all coming together at this moment for us
Yeah.
to be able to create, for us to be able to to make our visions come true.
Yeah, there are negative sides. I mean, I think the strikes that happened last year, the year before, were really valuable and important, especially for actors and writers, because of everything being developed and the lack of regulations. I mean, we're still so much in the Wild West with everything being
Mhm,
developed in the AI space. And I mean, I have personal experience with this. Luckily, I was in costume at the time, so it wasn't my face, but I was on set of a Marvel movie and I was an alien and I was hired for 6 weeks, and this was still when I was working as an architect. Oh, surprise everyone, I'm a qualified architect. I was still working as an architect. I took, this period of unpaid leave to film this Marvel movie for 6 weeks, and it was not something my company was thrilled about, but I was like, I will do this. I love Marvel. And so it was about 2 weeks into filming, and then they moved all of our booked days to a heavy pencil. And for you guys who don't know, if you're booked, they have to pay you. Um, and then if they cancel you for a booked day after like noon or 3 p.m. or 6 p.m., they have to pay you a certain portion. But if you're heavily penciled, they don't have to pay you anything if they completely like cancel on you. Even if you've
mhm,
turned down other jobs, even if you've canceled other things, rescheduled stuff, doesn't matter. Like you don't matter to them. It's like a business, and like if they can cut you, they will. So after 2 weeks,
mhm.
they moved us to heavy pencil, and then the next day they 3D scanned all of us, in the 3D scan machine, which is basically like 240 Canon cameras in a cylinder, and you just stand in it in a couple different positions, and then they completely have your likeness, and they can put you wherever they want in the movie and don't have to pay you anymore. So you get paid like £30 to do that scan, and then we were fired for the rest of the booked days.
Wow.
So I had experienced that before, way before
How
the
does that
strike.
feel? How does that make you feel?
It sucks. I mean, that
Mm,
happened like end of August, beginning of September 2022, and or no, 2021. Shit. Yeah, 2021. God, the dates. So it was like still way before like AI had boomed the next year. But it sucked. Like I was really sad and I was like, okay, well, yep, this is show business. This is a really valuable lesson to learn because before that, I wouldn't double book jobs because you cannot be the one to cancel on them because they'll threaten you like you'll never work in this business again if you cancel on me, even if you're just an extra. And I canceled on one of them because like I had something going on and they were like, the director chose you specifically for this role. And I was like, bullshit.
mm,
Like, I'm sorry, but no, that's not true. And it was apparently for this featured role in The Crown. And I don't even know if that's true or not, but they were really rude about it. But I've been canceled on dozens of times. And Like, I'm not shouting, but they called me like 20 times to yell at me. So you can't cancel on them, but I'd say, you gotta hedge your bets because they can just like cancel on you and it doesn't really matter. You'll lose money. And I think there should be a regulation where if you're booked, they still have to pay you some sort of bare minimum, like half the day rate. And the day rate might only be £100. So maybe they have to pay you £50. So if they cancel a booked date or move it to a heavy pencil, I don't care. They should still pay you half of whatever the basic day rate is. And for like let's say extras for example, like there's actors and you get paid, maybe 350 a day plus potential buyout or residuals or whatever. For an extra, you might get like £100 a day, and then depending on if you're getting overtime or extras, you could get up to like 350 a day, depending on the set. If it's a night shoot, maybe you'll get like slightly more. If you're doing any SPAC work or stunt work, it's going to be more. But otherwise, like it's a pretty bare minimum rate. And then if you get canceled on and you turn down some other stuff, it sucks.
I guess the problem in the film industry is everything is so last minute. Everything is coming to everything
So
is
wasteful.
Yeah, everything is coming together at the last minute. Everything evolves very quickly as well. So when
Yeah.
you're when the production's working, they'll have a schedule of exactly what they want to do over. So they'll plan a schedule for 6 months, but it never goes to plan. And so
No.
therefore, if
So
you're trying,
disorganized,
but then if
which
you're
is
trying to
crazy considering how much money is there.
Yes, yeah. Um, so I kind of get it from the production's point of view, from the the department that is organized, trying to organize, and it's hard to keep up with what's going on the set and all the different
Mm,
people. When you work on a film, the end product of what we see on TV, we may only see 5 or 6 people at a time, but
yeah,
behind the camera, there's hundreds of
yeah.
thousands of people.
Oh,
And
yeah,
so the logistics
yeah.
of yeah, things can change at the last minute. But
Mm,
us as individuals can't be in a position where, yeah, 12 o'clock the day before we're due to work, we're just dropped.
yeah,
We're just
yeah.
no, that heavy pencil. Like, I want to get rid of that term, heavy
No, I
pencil.
know. It's
Like,
it's
I
frustrating. I get it,
yeah, mhm,
though, from their perspective, but I also think there should be like, if you've booked someone, I think you should get half the day rate. That's just how I feel.
mhm. Yeah,
Also,
and
they
then
should
of
never
course
ever
there's
make people wear heels on set, period. Unless you're a main actor, no heels. No.
yeah, and I get one of the other problems with these rules is that different productions in film will have different types of budget. So
Yeah,
one production may have a budget of £100,000 and they've got to make it on that, whereas another film has a budget of £100
yeah,
million. And so the one with the smaller budget, the constraints and the flexibility to be able to cancel you, yeah, it kind of works in their favor, I guess. Um,
I
but
don't know, I
it
find, like,
is hard for
the
us as
bigger ones have been
performers.
worse.
Yes.
Yeah, I find the bigger ones are worse, though.
Hmm.
They're much less caring, and, like, I don't really do extras work anymore. I pretty much only, like, apply through our agency just because you'll have one experience, which will be amazing. You'll get to, like, hang out with cool people. It's a really cool set. Everyone's treating you like a human, which is great. And then you have another one where you're treated like a sheep or some sort of cattle or walking furniture, like you're an idiot. Like
Yes.
they don't know what films you've been on. They don't know the work that you've done. They don't know your credentials. They're just like, oh, you're a nothing, so I'm gonna
Mm,
treat you like garbage, and that's not cool.
yes. Yeah, that
And you can
cattle
always tell.
phrase there.
You can always tell with the actors as well. Like I'm talking to you directly, actors, in case you ever hear this, which you won't. But how you treat the crew is one thing. How you treat the extras and SAs is a totally different story because like we are told all the time that we're at the bottom of the totem pole. We don't get craft, we don't get anything. And how you treat extras on set is a huge thing. Like Brad Pitt used to be an extra, and I've heard people who've worked with him, and he's great. He'll like come sit and he'll just be like, "Hey, I'm Brad." And it's like, obviously we know who you are.
Remembering where they've come from, that's quite
Right. But
important,
there's
isn't it?
people that like I don't know at what point it happened to them that they got so detached from reality that they think that they're actually better than other people. Like, oh, you have
Mhm.
more money, you get whatever. It doesn't mean you're actually more valuable than a different person. You might have a higher market value, but as a person, you can't just be like, oh, you can't make eye contact with me. You can't stand like a
Mhm.
meter from me, and that's like outside the pandemic.
Yeah,
It's kind of rude.
but then sometimes you can be surprised as well. I worked as an extra on the uh, I forget what the name of it's called now. It's the new Game of Thrones series. Is it
Oh,
Red
House of the
Dragon?
Dragons.
House of the Dragon. I worked as an extra on that quite a bit, and actually
Mhm,
on that one, they treated
mhm.
everyone really nicely. Like everyone was
Nice.
on the same level,
That was at
and
Leavesden,
craft.
right? Mostly?
That's it. Yeah, and
Yeah,
craft was
yeah.
available. You know,
Mhm.
and I think and all the actors were because there was so many scenes where it involved a big amount of people. I think whoever was running it must have
Mm,
realized you have to treat everyone the same. You have to treat everyone with dignity, or this isn't going to work.
yeah. Yeah.
S
I don't
and
really
it means a lot to be allowed to have craft, doesn't it? And for
I
anyone that's
know.
not an actor that hasn't been on a set that don't know what craft
Explain.
is, that is when the cappuccinos are there, the
It's basically this
croissants.
yeah, this cart that will give you the artisanal coffee, sometimes, like, little cakes or little shots of smoothies. There's just, like,
Mm.
fun little snacks there throughout the day, and the crew can go and get cafes for people, like, if they're a runner, and if you're on a small set and there's maybe only, like, 10 essays or something, then maybe you're gonna be allowed, but, like, obviously, the bigger it is, then they're not going to because generally the
Oh,
agreement with Kraft is they've got like
mhm,
200 cups per day as part of the agreement, and then anything on top of that is extra. I don't know. It really
mhm,
depends. But Kraft is awesome. And
mhm.
yeah,
It
it sucks when you
really
it's a
it
food
sucks when you're
hierarchy.
not.
It's weird.
Mhm.
Like I
Yes,
think
and
that it's food
when you're not
discrimination.
part of that.
But
Yes.
even when it comes to meals, like, sometimes you'll get the same meal as people, but then if you're doing overtime, like, you guys might get, like, rice and chicken, and they get, like, Domino's pizza, and they'll walk around, and you'll be able to smell it and see it, but you're not allowed to eat it. It's just, like, throwing in your face constantly, like, "You're way less than us." One of the
Yeah.
worst productions I was ever on, which I refused to go on again, even though, like, I had a really good featured role, basically the COVID team was heinous to us. There was only 13 of us. We were core continuity, which meant like we had to be there even if we weren't filming. We were stuck on set, like offset. So it was cold, it was dark, we weren't allowed to speak, we weren't allowed to take our masks off. We weren't allowed to have craft. Like I said, there was about a dozen of us, and this was for weeks, like weeks of this kind of treatment. It got to the point where like one of the COVID team was harassing me while I was trying to eat a yogurt, and she's like, "You need to put your mask on." And I was like, "Well, I'm eating right now, so I can't do that." And she's like, "Okay, well, you need to
Mhm.
put it on." And I was like, "Fine." So I put the mask on and I just started like putting yogurt in my face. And I was like, "Looks like you're gonna have to get me a new mask. Is this what you wanted?"
Yeah. No,
Sometimes you're
the
just really done. Like if you have like 5:30 a.m. starts and then you're filming for like 15 hours and you're not allowed to leave, you're not allowed to do anything, you're not allowed to speak. It's like it really sucks. It really gets to you.
mm, yeah, and that being treated as a different level of human being is
Yeah.
it's a surprising how that's still going on, how it's still happening
Yeah, and the
because
director was also super sexist, even though the main character was like a really famous main actress. So
mhm,
it happens that way.
yeah. I have had a member of Equity on the podcast actually previously, and I hope
Oh,
she
cool.
joins me again because I've got lots of questions for Equity as to what are they doing to protect artists at the lower
Yeah,
levels.
I know because they're giving
Because I feel
jobs that
like I
should
think
go to actors
and I know
to
it's not
extras.
equity. I mention equity. It's not equity's job to actually make and the change, but they
Yeah.
have they they're the ones in the power in the position to kind of nudge things
Mm.
forward. But there definitely needs to be a change within the industry
Yeah, I
for
mean,
this
there's certain
way that people
productions
are
that
treated.
yeah, like, there's certain productions that will try to get away with not hiring actors by
Mhm.
using extras for speaking lines, for reactions. Like, I was on a set and they
Which
asked if anyone what?
I was gonna say, which
Which
can
is
be
what?
it can be good. It can be good for you as a foot up,
Can be
as a
good.
I've
Yeah,
experienced that myself as an extra, being given that opportunity to have
it
some
can
lines or to
be,
mm,
but then you're not paid like an actor, you're not treated like an actor, you're still an extra,
no.
but they've taken what should be an actor's job and given it to you to, like, cut corners. Like,
Mhm.
I was on one and they asked
Financial
if
call,
anyone could,
so
like,
f
cry on demand.
financial.
Yeah. I
Mhm,
mean, they'll pay you £26 for speaking,
mhm,
like a speaking reaction, and if you're an actor, you would have, like, whatever, you might have your own trailer, you might have someone pick you up in a car that day.
mhm.
It doesn't really matter about that stuff, it's just kind of like they're cutting corners, and I find it kind of bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the see, yeah, I would be I have found so much opportunity within that for myself. Some of my best parts on a film or TV set have been from being an extra and have been,
Yeah,
it's a way of kind of working yourself up. But yeah, at the same time, then if you're going to do that, take the extra and make them an actor, pay them an actor's wage, not an extra's wage.
yeah, I mean, I
Treat them
still
like an actor.
follow a bunch of extras agencies because, like, opportunities do pop up because of
Mhm.
this system, which I think is flawed, and sometimes they're asking you for self-tapes as a featured extra,
Yeah, yeah.
which is bizarre, it shouldn't really
Mhm.
happen.
See, I've done about 20 years of being an extra on film and TV, and I
Mhm,
came away from it just before the pandemic. I can't remember what film it was now, but I was on something where I said, "I've had enough of this. I'm not doing
yeah,
this anymore." That kind of experience of being treated differently, it's just like,
yeah,
no, I've got so much more better things I could be doing with my time than being treated as a lesser human.
yeah.
And so I'm just done with it. I've got the experience I need because it's great for experience.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got that experience, and now I'm I don't need to do it. And then the pandemic happened,
Mhm.
and there was a little break, and then after that, I was like, well, actually, it's a good side hustle. It's a
Yeah,
good,
it is. You can
you
also
know,
do work at the same time on set, like offset, if
yes,
you're in the holding area. If you have your
yeah,
own work to do that you can work remotely, that's great. You can do 2 jobs at once.
yes, yeah, yeah, or even opportunity to read a book or to
Yeah.
network.
Yeah,
You know,
networking is great.
hmm
Honestly, the best way to network is to try and get a stand-in role,
hmm
because if you're a stand-in, the crew actually speaks to you, and,
yes,
you can get craft as well, which is
hmm
great. But also you're near the actors, you're doing what they're doing. Basically, you're standing where they stand. You're
hmm
watching the crew show, which is them kind of, like, vaguely running through the scenes. You know what you basically get to watch everything working, you get to work closely with the director. So being a stand-in is a great chance for networking. Absolutely. You can actually, like, people will listen to you. I was a stand-in on The Power, which
hmm
was super cool because I was standing for, like, 5 different people. It, like, has to do with skin tone and, like, height and size, but, like, also it's mostly, like, skin tone for the lighting,
hmm
and basically, it got to the point where the director listened to me on 2 things, and they actually changed one of the scenes based on, like, something I said, which had been written in the book, and then I basically explained that it, should be altered slightly, and then they cut the scene from the show, and I was gonna be like, "I told them to do that."
It's
It's fine.
actually a really. I've just been a stand-in myself on a program called. It's a Disney program. Stephen
Ooh.
Graham. It's called 1,000 Blows. It's
Oh,
a boxing one. Have you heard of
okay,
it?
no, 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 I watched a different Thousand thing, but cool.
No, no, it's not gonna be out, I think, until next year. I think it's still in development.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I was a stand-in for Stephen Graham in this boxing film,
sweet.
and that was the first time actually. I'd applied to be a stand-in previously and never actually got it, but that was the first
Mhm.
time I'd got the role to be a stand-in, and
It's a sweet
I
gig.
wasn't pre it was, and I wasn't prepared for how influential I was gonna be on the set. How,
Yeah,
Stephen would come in, he would rehearse his scene, I'd get
mhm,
to be there, like, what a great
yeah,
place to be. I'd get to be there on a film set, watch a professional actor rehearse, and then he'd go off to his trailer, and I would have to do what he did. And I was like,
yeah,
this is great. This is
yeah, you
what
get
I
the
wanna
sides
do.
as well.
You get the
And
sides, you get
for
the
people that don't know,
script.
sides are like A5 sheets of paper that have like the script for the day, the scenes for the
Yeah,
day. It also has the contact information for everyone. So if you're networking, you just be like, "Where are you?" and circle them so you have like their details.
yeah,
Um,
so you're
I mean,
really
you
a
have like a little
really important
radio,
part. Yes, you
which
have the
like
radio so that they can talk to you, call
I
you
know
in and
you're
call
just
you
like
out,
mid
and you can.
conversation with someone. You're like, "I gotta go," and then you just run.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then you run
In fact,
back in
like, I have a
and
couple tips for anyone who's about to maybe do their first stand-in job. Basically, you'll know what your radius is from set based on when you've done the crew show or when it's coming or where they are in the scene. You'll just be listening, and you'll know, like, if you've just gone off set and you've swapped places with them, that's when you have the biggest radius. That's when you go to the bathroom, you go get your food, you go grab a coffee, you go network, and then as time goes on, within maybe like 30 minutes, you got to get closer and closer because I was on a really strict set. And basically, when they say crew show, you need to be on set within less than 60 seconds. So it was like
mhm.
sprint. But I think that's
Yeah,
also
and you
like
need to
a
know
level of
and you need to know
professionalism.
what
I
you're
don't want,
doing, don't you?
yeah, I don't want anyone to ever have to wait on me. I want to always be like there, making everything easier for everyone else. So,
Mhm.
but it's great
And
opportunity if you ever get the chance.
yeah, and it was that getting to work with, someone like Stephen Graham as well, and in the sense of I didn't realize I thought I'd just come in and stand around and be, get the lighting and the camera right, but he'd come back on set and I'd give him notes. And I'd say to him,
I
"By the
know.
way by the way, they've decided the camera's gonna be in a different place than it was 20 minutes ago, and now the actor's coming around this way, and when we did it on our rehearsal, this is what I did, just so
Yeah.
you can consider that." Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'd be giving notes to the actor, and it
And
was
they'd be like, oh,
almost like
thanks.
a
Thanks.
yeah, it's almost like a filter for the actor, isn't it, between the crew
Mhm.
and what they've got to do for their job. You're like that little bit in between, aren't you?
Exactly. I mean, like one of the people I stood in for was because I used to watch Gilmore Girls when I was younger, and I actually stood in for Mrs. Kim, who is like a smaller Korean woman. Um, and I'm obviously not Korean, but like our skin tones are sort of similar, and she's shorter than me, so I had to basically like crouch down and like put my arms out to try and be similar proportions to her. And that's what I had. You sometimes you have to stand there for like 45 minutes. And then another person was thinner and taller than me. So I had to kind of stand on my tippy toes and make sure that I was at the right height for the camera. So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the
Mm,
best stand in relationship I've ever seen between an actor and a stand in, I don't know what their relationship is, but it was on the Marvel set and it was Samuel L. Jackson. It was so cute. Every time they would swap places, they would like hug or like high five or shake hands or fist bump or something. And I was like, this is what it should be. Cause like some actors just
mhm,
completely blank their stand in or double.
mm.
So that was really great. He's really good.
I think some of the A-listers have
Yeah.
their guys or the girls, their people,
Yeah.
their
They have
go-tos
their
who they're like
person.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're like,
Because
"Right, this
also
is who I
sometimes
work
they're
with."
double.
Mhm,
Yeah, I basically was talking to Bryce Dallas Howard's double slash stand-in on Argyle, and we were on this train scene, and she was like, "Yeah, I've been working with her for years, and basically I need to adapt to whatever she looks like in the movie. Like she needs to change her body, her hairstyle, all of that to adapt to her." And I was like, "Oh, that must be like kind of hard." And she's like, "Yeah, but it's great, and there's so much work for me, and I like have a beautiful relationship with them." So I think that's really nice.
so in this, we're discovering that there is a way to make an income from performing, from acting. There is ways that you can do it.
Yeah.
What about the career progression though? Do you think you can move your career as an actor forward from being an extra or a stand-in?
Maybe if you're really good at networking, and if you also you're absorbing everything because you're very observant. I mean, I think also actors who come straight out of school should try extras work just so they can be on set and see how it's all working before they're hired as an actor. Because I've seen some like brand new actors come on set and they don't know where their mark is. They don't know what that is. They don't know what some of the terminology is. And I think if you just go on set a couple times and you just observe everything that's going on, who's doing what, like I always play this game. I try and find the triad, which is basically the director, the first AD, and the DOP, like the director of photography, because sometimes they like huddle together, and the director is usually the one that's hidden. You'd think that like the director is the first AD because they're the one giving commands, but no, that's the first AD. The director's generally hidden behind a screen somewhere, so it's like, where's the director? Can I find them? So, so I
It's
think it's good to just be on set and be observant about what's going on.
very strategic, aren't you?
Yes. 100%. I mean, can you make a career of it? I mean, I know people who've been doing extras work for years/decades. So yes, you can do that, and if you are really in with the assistant directors, like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, then you can do that. I think the best thing you're gonna do is if you're on set for more than 1 day, like you're booked with them, learn their names as soon as possible and say them as often as possible. So if their name is John, just be like, "Hey, John, how's it going?" Or like, "See you later, John. Doing a great job, John." Whatever. And then they'll be like, "Oh, that person knows my name. I should probably also know their name." And then once you have done something that basically builds their trust for you, then they might be more likely to put you closer to camera because they know you're not going to screw it up. Or they might be more likely to suggest something to you or put you out there. So I think that's a really great way to kind of like push yourself forward, know their names, talk to them, treat them like an equal, and then they'll potentially treat you like an equal and trust you enough to give you the featured roles, give you the close ups. There's ways, but I would
Yeah.
say also try and get short films, like unpaid work to build your show reel. Like you can take good headshots on your own. You don't necessarily need to pay a couple £100 with a photographer. Just look at a bunch of examples online and try to mimic those. So if you're trying to keep your budget for all of this really light, like there's ways to do it. And now with AI, you could create like a really simple short film script for yourself, even if it was just like an interesting monologue, and then you'd put something out. So then you have an example of what you can do. There's also voiceover work, which slightly less now because of like AI's voice work, but you can still do that. There's options. You never know where you might get picked up. So I think it's like
I
being
I
really,
get
really proactive and then hmm,
I guess that comes back to what we were discussing earlier, that the tools are available to us now to do our
yeah,
thing. We don't necessarily have to wait. There we
no,
can use our high quality phones to take pictures
yeah,
to get us on with the agencies. We
mhm,
can create a short monologue to show that we can act and perform. We can
exactly.
record that and upload it to the internet, and it can be there. Yes, we can produce better if we pay a crew and hire people and do all of
But
these things,
realistic.
but
Be
it's not
realistic with
it's
it.
not
How
realistic.
yeah. Like, if you're living in
That
London, super expensive, cost of living
Mhm,
crisis. Like, you need to be responsible with your finances and try to live below your means, even if your means are tiny. Try to live below that. I
see,
mean, when
I
I
always
joined
believe.
Flat 50 Management, it was because I met Joe on
Mhm,
set, and she was like, "Oh, we don't have any Americans. Do you wanna audition for the agency?" And I was still working as an architect at the time, so honestly, if I hadn't joined the agency, I probably wouldn't have quit architecture because I just wanted to try something different. I've been doing architecture for 12 years and I wanted to explore this new passion of mine. And then I ended up
mhm,
joining Spotlight like 6 months later because they changed the rules for how to join. So good.
mhm. Do you find, so you're from the United States. Where in the
Mhm.
United States are you from?
Ohio.
Ohio. And you've come to
Mhm.
London. How do you
Mhm.
feel? Do you feel that that's given you more opportunities for performing being an American in London? Because the UK film industry is booming. There is a
Yes.
lot going on, and
Yeah.
but on the downside of that, for them, is that a lot of the films are American based or American led, and so they want American artists or they
Yeah.
want people to do accents, and obviously your
Yeah.
accent is perfect.
It's
and
perfect. Yeah.
your look is perfect. You look, all right. Maybe I could get away with
Thank
an
thank you.
American, but your look is perfect. You sound perfect for an American film. So are the
Mm.
opportunities that there for you? Is that working out?
I don't know. Maybe now that I'm credited in a Paramount Plus TV show, maybe more things will come. But I mean, I moved to England in 2007, and the only reason I still have my accent is because 'cause I'm really stubborn. So it is helpful to have a definitive accent, nothing that's, like, in between, and I can
Mhm,
do, I don't know, 6 different types of American accents should I need to do Southern or California or whatever, I can just adapt that quite quickly. And
mhm,
one of the tricks for you guys is you can basically drop the script into like an AI voice generator and choose whatever accent you need, and then just have it play the script at you and then mimic it. So if you don't know how to speak in an Irish accent, just put the script in, ask it to be a Dublin accent, and then just repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. And then also as a tip, because trying to do an accent outside of yours, you kind of lose some other features of the acting because you're focused too much on the voice. So I'd say do it in your natural accent, film yourself, all of the facial expressions, all of the hand movements you might be doing, and then make sure to add those in. And it's less of a natural thing, it's more of like a technical thing that you have to do, but
Mhm.
it is a technical thing if you're speaking in a different accent, so add it in.
That is something that I really struggle with on a self tape. If I do a self tape and they're like,
Mm,
right, do a Southern American accent,
yeah,
or do an Irish accent or whatever it is, and I'll work so hard on getting the accent right, I forget to act
mhm,
because
yeah.
I'm
I
just all
mean
around the mouth and there, and
exactly.
then the rest of it just goes away. And it's not until on review that I go, oh my god, that was rubbish.
Well,
You know.
it wasn't rubbish, it's just, like, it's you're stretching yourself, you know? And
Mm,
I think you just have to layer it back up from what the base layer is like, "Okay, now we're focusing on the accent, now let's layer back in this, and then do it from there." And I see acting as, like, here's you, here's who you are as a person and all of your personality, and I think acting roles, for the most part, for the majority of actors, you can be like here or here or here or here, but if you're too many steps away from who you are fundamentally, it's just not gonna work. It's gonna be really hard to do it authentically unless you're like a phenomenal actor. You can only take
mhm,
so many steps away from who you are. So once I tried to play someone younger than me with a North London accent who was Orthodox Jewish, but also a rebel, like a 17-year-old Orthodox Jewish, rebellious North Londoner. And I was like, that is maybe two steps too far.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, you touch on something quite important there for actors, being authentic, being
mm,
being the best actors are authentic. The best actors are true to themselves, and someone that there's playing there's a character type actor, um,
mm,
that you get. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong now. Cillian Murphy, character
sounds
actor. He can
is that the one from
Irish
wait, no, that's not
Irish
the one
actor.
from okay, it is, yeah,
Yeah,
from
won
the
the Oscar this year.
nuclear bomb.
Oppenheimer.
Oh, Oppenheimer.
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 Cillian.
Killian? Killian?
Gi
Killian?
Gillian?
Killian?
Gillian? I hope he never
God,
listens to this, so I'll get him on the
please never
podcast.
listen. We're
That'd be
so
embarrassing.
sorry. You're amazing. I know you don't like
You're
interviews.
amazing. Yeah, no, and I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I do it wrong all the time, so it's
Yeah,
just me. I'm the
it's
problem.
okay.
But
It's okay.
but he is a phenomenal character actor. But
Mm.
then you also have authentic actors, and I'm gonna go old school now. Michael Caine is
Oh,
a
yeah.
phenomenal authentic actor. He
Mm.
Years ago, I used to look at him and think, "Oh, he's just always himself." But he's not. It's not that he's playing himself. He's just being true to the part. He's
Yeah,
being authentic to the part, and
yeah,
he's not. He never tries to bring in an accent. He does occasionally, but he never tries to
yeah,
bring in a strong
sometimes.
accent or some kind of strong sh- a different character to who he is. He plays himself in that situation, and
Mm.
I think that that resonates, doesn't it? Those authentic actors.
Yeah, I mean, one of the highest compliments you can get in as an actor, in my opinion, is that it was a very natural performance. Like, if you got
Yes.
a self-tape and they're like, "That felt really natural," even if you weren't necessarily chosen for the role, I think that's that's pretty high compliment.
Mm. It's hard to find. I think it's harder to find those pieces when you're a smaller actor at a smaller level or a beginning actor.
Mm.
It's harder to find those pieces that you can be authentic in, that you can be yourself.
Yeah, you don't necessarily get a choice. Like, there's certain things
Mm.
that I flat out turn down, even though I've seen the pipeline for successful female actors, actresses. Basically, they, sometimes do an overly sexualized role, and then that's like their break into then doing more serious, reputable things later. But because I have another profession, like because I have other professions, plural, it's not something I could ever consider, like doing nudity or being a stripper or whatever. It's just not something I would want. Like, I would specifically like to only take on like empowering female roles if possible, because I think you should still decide and you shouldn't be so desperate to take on anything that it goes against your values. But saying that, you need to have other jobs, you need to have other forms of income because you have to be realistic. And if something says they're going to pay you really well, I think you just have to think about it like, am I going to be okay with this in a month, in a year, in 5 years? Like, if I have kids, do I want them to know that this is on the internet? I don't know. It's really up to each individual.
Mm. But that's something that I'd never considered before, actually. That an actor needs to consider. Like, obviously, you have to consider your morals and
Yeah.
your friends and family, but yeah, the other career in what you're doing with the performance, the
Well,
the
so
other
yeah,
side hustles and other jobs that you do. So let's move on to the other
yeah,
thing that you do. You're not just, we jumped
yeah,
into the acting there, but
yeah,
the other job, your other
sure.
career. So
I'll also just kind of
tell me a
add
little
on
bit
that
about that.
very quickly.
Mhm.
So when I started doing all of this stuff, I was still in my master's degree doing architecture. And basically, because I'd started like doing small commercials and also like modeling, swimsuit modeling, I didn't want architecture firms that I might apply to find my modeling acting work. So I basically split my name. So my stage name is just Anna Karina, which is my first and middle name, whereas my professional name was just Anna Berkman. So like they didn't overlap whatsoever. And it's only been the last year that I've tried to merge myself back together. So my stage name is still Anna Karina, which is good because it kind of sounds like Anna Karenina. And I am a quarter Russian, so it fits. But then I like the full name, and I kept my personal brand, which is Architect Anna. And then I quit architecture at the very end of 2021, started 2022 to do like acting and stunt training because I'm also a second degree black belt and I'm always really interested in action films. So I started doing that. But then, like, the work wasn't as regular, and I thought I was going to have some part time work. I also did a short degree in business and marketing, so I was trying to find jobs in marketing because I found it really interesting and it wasn't something I could explore so much as an architect. And then, yeah, I was like, I got COVID and I lost 6 days of filming work, which was an entire month's rent, and it was a huge blow. And that was in June 2022. And I was like, crap. And I was so close to filming 11 months on Mission Impossible 7 or 8. Um, and then that I got dropped after 8 of 9 rounds. It was kind of like a week before it was saying, get ready, guys, you're meeting production next week, and then we're flying out in 3 weeks. You're going to be filming with Tom Cruise closely for the next 11 months. The first chunk is outside of Europe, the second chunk is in Europe, and then it's in the UK, and then back outside of Europe. And that was like, that's all I knew about it. But then I got dropped a week before that happened. So I had like a few setbacks. Then I got COVID, and I was like, crap, I actually need a job. I need some security, financial income. So I started to talk to recruiters to try and get them to look for marketing jobs for me because I just didn't want to go back to architecture for different reasons. And they were like, "Ooh, this is going to be a really tough sell." And I was like, "Why? I have so many transferable skills. Look, and I'm very enthusiastic." And they were just like, "Yeah, no." And I was like, "Fine, okay." So I started doing more in-person networking, which is one of the best things you can do for whatever your career is and whatever your goals are. Network and be very like intentional with what you want. And I don't mean like go after it talking to people, but I mean like know in your head what your goals are. And so I basically knew someone who was working at a company and they had an opening for quite a big marketing job. And I became a chief marketing officer, which is the biggest marketing job you can have. It's the highest, it's C suite level. Anyways, so I got that job, realized why I got that job because pretty much the entire department had quit and they needed someone who was like enthusiastic that would do what they said. So I worked there for 6 months. I worked with like 200 clients. I did 40 campaign launches, hired a bunch of people, trained them, tried to make the team work well. I learned so much. It was really great, but it was also a very difficult, challenging job for a lot of different reasons. And then 30 minutes before my probation ended, I was fired. So I didn't have an income anymore and I didn't really know what to do. I only had 5 days' notice. So, yeah, 2 days later, I started my business,
How did
which
that
is what
make
I'm
you
doing now.
feel when you put all this hard work in, that you got to this point of this probation, and they said,
Mm.
"No, sorry, no, we're not going any further." How did you feel at that point?
I mean, I kind of thought that after 6 months of proving myself, being voted the company's hardest worker, growing the department, doing all this stuff, improving efficiencies, that I could then kind of take a step back because I was sometimes the first one in, the last one to leave. I was really doing a lot and it was very stressful. Like I had nightmares about it. And then, yeah, when it happened, it was kind of a relief, but also really gutting because I honestly, me quitting that job would have been really hard because I was trying to protect my team,
Mhm,
because of the type of business it was. And once I was fired, I was worried what was going to happen to them. So I was kind of relieved that I didn't have to be the one to like leave them because I wasn't leaving by choice.
mhm.
But also, it was really sad because I like loved them. Like we built this relationship together, and I'm still friends with a bunch of them. But it was such a hard job, and like it was not good. And I
Is
think
that
like
where
right
the
now,
relief comes in? Where you was
yeah, I mean,
relieved?
I'm
Yeah.
really grateful that I got fired because if I hadn't, there's absolutely no way I would have jumped on the AI train when I did. Like, no way at all. And I think now I'm 18 months ahead of everyone else trying to get it into AI, and
Mhm.
that's a pretty big head start.
So
So
tell
yeah, I
me
basically,
about
yeah,
this, where you're at now then with the AI.
yeah,
What is the business that you are now that you're now running, that you're now part of? What is happening there?
sure. Cool. So my business is called Marketect, which is marketing architect. I basically started a marketing company initially and then realized I could use AI as a selling point, a unique selling point to get people to choose me over other more established marketing agencies. And then after publishing a book on AI, um, for free online to help people, I decided to just make it an AI consultancy business instead. And like, because I was really excited about it. I was self teaching myself and learning, testing different things all the time, trying to help other entrepreneurs use it in their business. And then I think it was like I had a period of imposter syndrome where I was like, I'm not from a tech background, I'm not a programmer. Who am I to be an AI consultant? Who am I to help other people in this space? But I hold a certain value, which is that I'm like the human connection side of the tech industry. So in a lot of times there's technology which can be scary for people, and then there's no bridge to get them to the point where they want to try it. And I think right now
Mhm.
I'm that bridge. For the first year, I didn't go near other AI consultancy businesses or tech companies. I was very threatened by them. I was like, I'm not good enough. But now I actually work with a lot of them because I realize that my value is actually getting people excited to want to then work with them. So I'm kind of their bridge. I did my first interview on like the ethics of AI use in leadership within businesses in September. And then I did my first in-person talk on the wonders of AI in December. I taught my first course to entrepreneurs on like how to use AI in business in January. And then I started developing the app that I'm in progress of developing, in February, which is basically an AI app for moms, which is exciting. And yeah, so basically what my business does, which is just me right now, I teach courses. I do corporate workshops. So I did 2 private equity workshops last month. I also do public speaking. I'm a speaker for the City of London. I have a networking event that I'm speaking on the AI panel on Tuesday, and I'm going to be starting to speak at schools soon. And then I also work one to one with founders, sort of doing strategy for their long term planning, how they can implement AI into their work, and then also developing the app. So I try to keep myself busy. I am the only niche that I have is kind of like SMEs, small businesses, startups, and then also moms. And that's my sector. That's what I do.
So you say mums. Tell me a little bit more about how mums would come to you for help and support with their work and what it is they want to achieve and how they're going to implement AI into what they're doing.
Sure. Yeah.
What is it you do? What is it you're doing there?
So I was working with female entrepreneurs for about a year, and out of all of them, the ones that had the biggest difficulties were moms because they had multiple full-time jobs basically. I mean, running a business on its own is like a baby. Like it's a lot of work getting it
Mhm,
off the ground, but then also being a mom and being a parent is a huge amount of work. So I was like, okay, I know that AI can help with business. Can it also help with just life management? Organizing your thoughts, sort of reducing the mental load of people that are really busy and overwhelmed. And I basically figured out yes, because over the last 18 months, I've become kind of a prompt engineer. So I know that I can ask AI pretty much anything and get what I want out of it. And I figured out how to do that for moms. So I launched my founders program a few days ago. And I'm basically looking for 10 founding members to join a 6 week challenge. It's called the 6 week Busy to Balance Challenge. And what I'm hoping is that during the 6 weeks, we're tackling different pain points each week with a little challenge at the end of it. And so hopefully each week they feel like a big sense of accomplishment The first week, for example, is on like just meal planning, meal prepping, snacks, and all of that stuff. So you would talk with AI, you would discuss, your family's dietary requirements, what foods your kids like, don't like, all of that. And then you would just basically plan out recipes for the next week, including all the ingredients list, which you can then just copy, paste, and put into your shopping list. And so at the end of the week, once they learn how to prompt that correctly with little 5 to 10 minute videos per day, so they're not super overwhelming, then they'll just
Mhm.
plan out the next week's meals. So each week, they'll learn more and more about how to use AI, how to prompt it, how to get what they want out of it. And then they'll have a little challenge. They'll solve some sort of problem in their life. By the end of the 6 weeks, they will have come a long way. I'm also doing like group coaching so that they can ask me any questions and I can get feedback to make sure that the program's being built in the way that's best for them. And also one-to-one strategic support. So whatever their goals are, whatever they're struggling with, I can also personally think about it, see if I can do something for them, produce some like scheduling or to-do lists or calendars or whatever really they need. And then yeah, so they'll be my founding group. And then after that, the app will be open in its first trial phase for other people, like other busy
Nice.
working moms. Yeah.
Nice. So there's a lot of talk around AI, a lot of
Mhm.
different theories, a lot of worries, a lot of um yeah, a lot of I find there's a lot of fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's normal with humans, that if we bring anything
Mhm.
new into our lives, we
Yeah.
we tend to fear is the first place we go to. Um but I feel that, yeah, there's a lot of misunderstanding because there's a lot of
Mm.
stories. Yeah, every time you
Yeah.
hear something in the news about AI, it's almost like a scare story.
Yeah.
Um, but then there's also a lot of genuine worries about things like, is AI going to take away from the human experience? Is it going to take
Mhm.
away from creativity and the
Yeah.
hard? There is reward in hard work, and if
Mhm.
we're using AI to take away from it,
Mhm.
um, then yeah, then will we get that reward? Someone said to me the other day, why don't?" Because I like writing, but I haven't had the opportunity to do that. And someone said to me the other day, "Why don't you just write a film on AI? Just do it all on there." And I
Mm.
don't think that's what you could do that,
You
but
could do that.
I don't but that's the choice, like, I don't want to fill it I don't want to
Yeah.
use it in that sense, just write film for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't get any reward, but I could use AI to help me as an assistant on that
Yeah.
writing path.
I think if you see it like a teammate or a partner,
Mm,
then that's a much better like path forwards. So I mean, it's great for blank page syndrome. So if you're stuck and you don't know where to start, you can create an outline with it. Or if you have some ideas, you can discuss it and create an outline and have it critique the outline, ask it if there's anything missing, ask it if you need to add anything, ask them if there's any bias or any out of the box ideas. So you can create stuff with it as a partner. I mean, the book that I published, I created in 1 week about AI with AI, and AI is my co-author. And that's why I
mm,
published it online for free because I didn't think it was ethically responsible to sell it because I didn't create it by myself. So, I mean, it depends on how you use it. I think one of your other questions with the mom example, if they're using it to make their lives more efficient and reduce their overwhelm and stress, then the quality time that they'll be able to spend with their kids or the amount of focus that they'll be able to have at work will be greater. So I think that human experience will increase because they're not going to waste their time with things that could be sort of automated or sped up or just like kind of moved from their brain off, like slide it off the table, it's done, and then focus on the things that really matter. And I think for people who are creative who might be concerned about it, you guys are the luckiest people because you have creative brains. And out of everyone who could possibly use AI for something, you guys have the best opportunity to use it for whatever you want, whatever you could possibly imagine.
mhm.
So I think creative people, especially creative entrepreneurs, have the biggest opportunity with AI from anyone else.
Yeah. And I do use AI. AI is supporting me with some of the things that I do. For instance, I'm dyslexic, and in the past, if with everything that I write, it was a good idea if I'm putting it out into the world, I'd need to get
Mhm.
someone to check it. And, you
Yeah,
know, everyone's time is valuable, even the people that are very close to you, friends and family. It's hard to say with everything that I'm doing, can there be someone there to check it, please? I can't.
yeah,
It's just not realistic for anyone to have that. But now we're living in an age where I can write something. I can write a social media post, and I can
mhm,
put it into AI and say, "Can you check this for me?" And it can do
yeah.
it in an instant. So I've
You can be
got
very
that.
self-reliant.
Yeah, so I can be self-reliant, and I've got an assistant with my, you know, with my thing that I struggle with. I struggle
Yeah,
with writing, and therefore
mm,
now I have a support system
yeah, and it can
that
help you, and that's something you
yeah.
wanna do, that's something you like doing, but you just, like, maybe not be as good at it. Like, the same people who have a bunch of vision, but they're not painters, like, if you used an
Mhm,
AI image generator, you could still create something that's technically brand new, um, and use it. I know there's a lot of debate around that as well, but, if there's something holding you back or something you think that you don't have in your life, and that's why you cannot accomplish your dreams, whatever it is, AI can help.
yeah.
Whatever.
I guess, yeah, I see it as a, like I say, as an assistant. I think the problem comes in is, like you say, like with visual art, with
Mm.
whether it's just a painting or video. There's some really amazing videos coming out of AI now.
Oh, yeah, like Sora.
Um,
Sora is
yeah,
crazy.
but then, yeah, is there value in that? Is there value
Yeah,
in that? It was it was a person's idea, and then
mhm.
it just happened. There was
I
no
mean,
work in between.
like, there is value in it. Like, the book that I created could
Mhm,
not have been done without me, absolutely not, but it also could not have been done without AI. So, I was able to produce something completely brand new. I mean, it's 60,000 words.
mm.
Like, I still had to structure it, organize it, and work with an AI very closely. I mean, multiple different tools, but to create it. So, it was a team effort.
So what does that process look like to you then, working with AI to write a book?
I mean, a book is separate. I mean, in the context of acting, I've also found it helpful with analyzing scripts and audition information. Like, you know this, but like, I basically got an audition tape and it was 11 pages. It was like 8 different scenes, which is
Mhm,
ridiculous. For anyone who doesn't know, you should get something that's less than 60 seconds because they can decide within 5 seconds if you're right for the role. So having you do some ridiculous, like 11-page script, multiple scenes, 3 different crying scenes, come on. Even if I gave it my all, even if I did an excellent job, they might be like, "Nah, I don't like her hair color." And then you would have wasted so much time memorizing it, trying it, being emotionally drained from crying, all of this stuff.
mhm.
So, like, I
And the
shortened it
hours of
in the
work that
end.
would go into that, the hours,
Yeah.
it isn't just a
I mean,
5-minute job. That is a d
no,
that is a
even short tapes, yeah, short self-tapes still
mhm,
take about 2 hours if you think about it, because you gotta do setup, outfit, in my case, hair, makeup, eye lines, lighting, memorizing your script, and then you then have to edit it, maybe add on extra voices because I don't have reading partners, which I'm not sure how much that's hurt me in the past, but basically I have
that's
another mic and I will make sure that the gaps are the right length. So you have to memorize the other person's script as well, and
mhm,
then add in the audio, and then edit that, and then make sure that it's good to go, and then labeled correctly, and then you send it. And that can be done in about 2 hours if it's a small self tape. An
mhm,
11-page one, absolutely not.
yeah.
But
That's
I basically dropped it in. Should I? No, you can go.
no, sorry, I was gonna say, like, that is the minimum I think a self-tape takes, is 1 to 2
Yeah,
hours, easy. And it's
yeah.
so refreshing and nice to hear that as well, that other actors are struggling with when you get those scenes where it's dialogue backwards and forwards, where it's,
Mhm.
someone else. It's not practical, that's 2 hours of
No,
your time, 2 hours of someone else's time for an audition.
yeah.
It's
And I don't want to
very
be
hard.
penalized for not having friends. Like,
Yes,
that's harsh.
yes, yes. So then I've done it in the past, yeah, where I've recorded the other person. So
Yeah,
I've done and then I've played that from another side of the room, and
it's
then I'm
too hard.
responding to that. But then because it's a recording, you can't adjust your acting. You're like, "Oh, I did the
Exactly.
recording wrong," so you've got to go back and do the recording again,
Right, which is
and
why I prefer to leave gaps and then
mm,
basically just plan whatever facial reaction I need, time whatever gap is necessary, but then if I need to say a little bit faster when I'm recording it, I can make sure I say it faster, or I can
but
make sure I
then
say it
within
slower to fit. perfectly.
w within
But you
doing
also have
these
to
little
be a
things.
video editor. You know, you have to be a video
Yes,
editor, you need to be able to do
yes.
audio because also the recording can't sound like you, so you have to
Mhm.
change your voice a little bit, and then you have to reduce it to, like, 30 to 50% volume so that
Yeah.
it's not comparable to your voice because it's not the highlighting one, it's just for context.
Mm,
So that's effort. If anyone wants to get better at self tapes, there's an awesome 21-day self tape challenge with Puro Casting. It's only 35 pounds. It's really like whatever effort you put in, you get out. They send you a new monologue or dialogue every day, plus tips, and you can see how everyone else analyzed the text and recorded it. So it's really great to see where you sit. And if there's
mhm,
people that did that well or that well or that badly, and everyone's giving each other advice, they'll tell you like what apps to use to edit it. And it's great. So if you're getting started and you wanna get better at self tapes, 35 pounds, 21 days, good to go.
Yeah,
That's good.
it's great to do a course in it and not just keep winging it, because it is a
Okay, but
skill
the tip
set
the tip
for
the
sure.
tip with AI was I dropped the 11-page script with the context, in the email to ChatGPT, and I asked it to basically pick out each of the scenes and tell me which emotions I should highlight in each scene to try and have a diverse character set throughout. And then I also asked it to analyze the different characters in it because if it's 11 pages, it would take a while just to understand the context and who's who, especially if they're using different like nicknames and accents and stuff. So I was like, who are the key people? What are the relationships to each other? Please just like tell me because you're going to read into it. So I was able to do that in
Mhm.
like, 10 seconds. And it saved me hours of time just analyzing the script, let alone memorizing it. So it's good in that sense. Yeah.
It's
Another
great, yeah.
example, which was so good, and this was with Claude. Yeah, with Claude AI, which Claude's I mean, I know ChatGPT 4.0 just came out, but Claude Opus, which is one of its highest intelligence ones, it's the highest out of Claude's, but not the highest in general. Basically, what I did was it can analyze up to 75,000 word documents. So I was submitting for my company for a grant, for a government grant, and grants have sometimes very complicated application forms. And I had written my business plan, and what I'd done was I dropped my business plan in, the entire document. I dropped the application form in with all of the questions, how many words there are per question, and I asked it to fill my business plan into the application form. And it did it. And it was
Yeah.
great. I mean, I still had to edit
And
it
and
afterwards and check
and
it and
that's
stuff,
a
but
yeah, and that's a job that you could do, but it isn't it's not very it's quite a tasking job, isn't it?
yeah, it would take days
The
to think about it and also put in like
yeah.
because in the prompt, it was also like, "This is the objective of the grant in general. This is
Mhm.
the way that my business fits in with it, but also please highlight these parts of my business plan." So you still know how to, like, prompt it well, and then I still had to analyze it afterwards, but the entire process took less than 3 hours, and it would have taken days.
So is there any downside in taking that away from the human? Taking that time of filling out the application? Is there a
Taking that time
downside?
away from myself doing it?
Mhm.
Uh,
Could you was there a benefit once there from filling out application forms that take you days to do?
benefit to bureaucracy? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, but, like, now that I know that I can do that quickly, it's less of an onerous task to think about submitting other grant and loan applications, because I know that I can do it quite quickly with an AI, and then you still have to be careful, you still have to check the information, especially if it pulls out statistics and stuff and factual information that you didn't include. Like, this one came up with, like, some, like, crazy information that was amazing and so beneficial. It basically started to calculate the number of hours saved for moms. And then it calculated based on the number of users of the app, how many hours saved per month and per year. And it calculated all of that. And then it also said if this portion of moms don't leave the workforce, it would have this benefit to the economy. So it was like, whoa, thank you for adding that. You made my application way better.
Yeah. So it does sound like it's just an upside really, isn't it? There is
Yeah. And I
just
was talking at an
it's a
AI
positive.
civics Yeah, I was talking at an AI civics conference, and there was a couple other charities there. And small charities and big charities kind of speak a different language. They have different levels of bureaucracy, and the in between sometimes they don't connect. And I was like, but if you took your stuff and their stuff and you put it into an AI and you said, "Where's the commonality? How do I work with this company? How do I fill out this form? Whatever," and it would tell you, and it would
Mhm.
save. I don't know. I think it'll bring people together in a different way. It depends on how you look at it.
It's about us adjusting, isn't it?
Yeah. I
It's
think,
not
I mean,
going
one of the
anywhere,
things.
that's for sure. It's not going
No,
anywhere.
exactly, it's like the internet, I
Mm,
think if y I understand why people are afraid of it, and I understand why they're resistant, but that's not going to help you. If you are afraid because you're worried about it taking your job, the worst thing you can do is run from it. The best thing you can do is try and learn it so that you're the one that's good at AI, so actually you're gonna be the one that keeps your job. If you think there's 5 people that need to do a job, for example, a copywriter, they're really only going to need 2 people, and those 2 people are going to need to be good at using AI. They're still going to need to write it themselves and review it themselves and check it. But if they can use an AI to make things faster, they're only going to need two, not five. And that's true for a
mhm.
lot of different roles. So be the person who's good at AI and you will be safer.
So
Not a
what
threat,
ha
just a suggestion.
yeah, so it's not a threat.
Not a threat.
Do it. So
Just a
what a
promise.
yeah, and I think we do have to, as humans, we have always evolved, and the ones that don't get left behind. I think
Yeah.
if you
And it'll
wanna
be
move
sad.
forward.
Some people are so busy and so focused on just trying to survive right now with everything going on. And I just mean like in London specifically, like just the cost of everything
Mm,
and job security and all of that. People are just trying to get by. The thought of trying to learn something else new that may or may not help you sounds kind of shit. It sounds kind of difficult. And I totally understand why they just want to kind of put up blinders and ignore it, but they might ignore it so long that it then impacts them.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we gotta be careful of. I guess the problem that we're at is where you talked about them job losses, that a company that once had to employ 5 people now only have
Mm,
to employ 2 if they're using AI incorrectly, so
yeah.
that can save money for the business, it can save resources, but
Mhm.
that means there's 3 people now unemployed, 3
Yep.
people that haven't got a job anymore.
Yep.
So what do those people do?
Right.
Adapt,
So,
evolve,
yes.
or
So you need to like build up a certain level of resilience and ability to problem solve on your own. The talk that I did with the City of London on Thursday this week was about it was called Setback to Startup, and it was targeted at people who'd been made redundant and then are thinking about starting a business. And it wasn't just about the practical steps of starting a business, it was also about the entrepreneur mindset, the different areas like visualizing success. It's not just about like, oh, you need to register for a limited company and you need to have your taxes organized. Like, yes, that's all true. And but you need to have it be a mindset situation that happens because especially if something crap has happened, because I was fired, like I said, 30 minutes before my probation ended. If I had then sat around and just been angry about it and like just wanted to go after the company and been like, you can't do this, you can't treat people like this, that would have been a really poor use of my time and energy. Whereas I was like, "You know what? I got this kind of value from that job, and I'm really grateful for the experience I had. It wasn't all good, but I'm gonna take the positive away from that and move my energy in a productive direction, which is starting my business and trying to learn new stuff." And it's not like that was an easy thing to do. Like I really struggled with it, and I
Mhm,
wish that I had a secure job because that's the biggest difference when you're an entrepreneur. It's you don't have consistent income and you have to make a lot of adjustments and sacrifices if it really matters to you.
mm,
Otherwise, you don't need to be an entrepreneur. You can just find another job. And if you upskill, that's great. You'll be more likely to.
yeah. You've touched on something really important there, it's about the mindset, isn't it? It's about the tools that we
Yeah.
work on and that we give ourselves in able
Mm.
to move forward. We can talk all this through, but we do need to work on this, don't we?
Yeah. And I use AI for that as well. So if there's a certain part of like my mental resilience that I'm struggling with,
Mhm,
um, like I'm not very confrontational. I also don't like being too pushy with sales. And I think I was talking to a chatbot about it, and I was like, look, I don't want to be pushy with sales. I don't want to be a hard seller. I want to do it more passively and also just more in a way that's providing value. So, can you help me reframe this in my mind and put me in a positive direction so that I can make sales moving forward? Because the truth is, for a business, if you don't sell something to someone, you don't have a business. You
mhm,
just have an expensive hobby, and that's not what you want. So you need to be good at sales, and that's not
mhm.
something that I'm like has been my strong suit in the past, and I think I'm getting better at it. But if there's something you're struggling with, you can just talk to a chatbot about it. and see if you can make it better. I mean, I was doing a strategy call earlier this week for the foundation, sorry, the founding members for my app, and I hadn't done one before for this sector. And so I asked the chatbot to basically give me a visualization exercise to put me in the right headspace before the call. And basically, it was like, look, don't think about the sale. Think about this person's circumstance, why they're on the call, why they're here, what kind of service and like value you can give them. Be empathetic, be compassionate, listen to them, and see whatever you can do to help them. And then if the sale happens, then that's fine. But you would have done the right thing on the call. And I was like, thank you, chatbot. Exactly.
Mhm.
So
What about using, like you say, so you were saying there about sales, it's not a strong suit of yours to be a salesperson.
yeah.
So you can use AI for some advice to talk things
Mhm.
through, to come up with strategies and plans.
Yeah.
Um, but what about for, let's say you write an email to someone.
Mhm.
What about reviewing that email
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and changing that email from being this is how much it's going to cost X, Y, and Z to changing it into them sales techniques, benefits, and things like that. Is that something that you
Yeah, yeah,
suggest
for
is a
sure.
good thing to do?
You can create sales scripts. So if you have a
Hmm.
call with someone, you wouldn't call it a sales call, you'd call it like a transformation call or a strategy call, or a value call or discovery call or something. But
Hmm.
then you might have a script that you go through to get them to understand what their pain points are, what their goals are, so they have an emotional connection to why they want what you're selling. So that they're actually trying to like they're convincing themselves that they need it throughout the call rather than you telling them they need it because that's not the kind of person I am. Like the reason I
Hmm.
struggle with sales is because I've seen some really, really deceitful, manipulative salespeople, and I just don't want to be near that.
Hmm.
So I had to just find my own version. But for emails, if you get an inbound email and you're like, oh, this is a complicated message, this person's really angry, you could talk to a chatbot. You'd be like, hey, how do I respond to this professionally, like courteously, but also explain like they're wrong or they've misunderstood something. How do I explain that? And it'll just give you an example. And then you could be like, okay, great, let me just add a couple things. And then like that's fine to send. Or you could have drafted it. Be like, hey, can you review this? This is what they sent me. This is what I've drafted. Am I missing anything? Should I change the tone a little bit? Can you critique it or can you rewrite it? Either way, up to you, depending on your prompt.
Hmm.
So that's good for emails, good for sales scripts.
And
And
it's up
then
to
you
you
could,
what you do
yeah,
with this information. Once you've asked it for the AI for assistance, it's up
mhm,
to you how you use it. You don't have to do as it's
no,
suggesting. You know,
no. I mean,
it's not your
also
boss.
you wouldn't really take the first thing it gave you anyway. You'd probably ask like five more prompts in, but you'd
Mhm.
get much closer to the answer much faster. And you'd learn while doing it what's right and what's wrong.
Mhm.
So, like, even if you gave it like multiple examples, like on one of the courses I taught, it was kind of like take your last 10 social media posts, drop them into one of the chatbots that I was talking about, which is in this case ChatGPT, and ask it if your messaging and tone was the same or if there was anything different about them. Also, if you have the stats about which ones performed the best, why did this one do well? Why didn't this one do well? You know, you can compare all that and like A/B test and ask it to be critical and like analyze information, which is great.
Mhm. So, what advice would you give to a creative, let's say an actor, never
Mhm.
used AI, but they've listened into a conversation like this,
Yeah.
or heard stuff on the news about it. Everyone's talking about it. The world is changing, and they're like, right, okay, I better give it a go. Where do they start? What's the first thing that you do?
I think if they just wanna dip a toe and try it, one thing they could do is they can tell it a little bit about themselves. They can
So
say,
tell
"This
it,
is."
like, I'm really going from, like, the point of knowing nothing. So,
Okay, so you
is
you
do
open a
you
chatbot,
do
like,
you go
whether
to
it's Google.
like ChatGPT or Google?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
so you sign up for an account with ChatGPT or Google Gemini, so if you have a Gmail account, it should just be open. So you just go in, you just be like, "Hey," you don't need to say your age or name or any of that. Just be like, "Hey, I'm an actor. I've been doing this for a few years. I've been struggling with a few things. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to become, but I don't really know what to do right now. What do you think I should do next?" And then see what it says.
Mhm.
And I think that's a really good place to start. Or if you're struggling in a job and you hate the job, you could be like, "This is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm passionate about. Like I'm thinking about starting a business, but I don't know what the business is even gonna be. I just know that this is something I like and this is my current skill set. What do you think I should do? Or what do you think the business could be?
So really, you're coming going through a place of advice, and that's not something that I've considered using it for, even myself. That kind of
Mm.
like life advice.
Yeah, I mean, I call it like
Mm,
idea generation. So the vast
yeah.
majority of I do is with AI is idea generation and strategy. I mean, there's some copywriting and stuff, but the vast majority is idea generation and strategy.
Mm,
Because anytime I'm running through an idea, normally you would bounce it off other people that might be in the same industry. But if you don't have access to them, or if you're doing something that's brand new, then yeah, you're going to want to talk to someone or something. And in that case, I talk to a chatbot. You can also talk to some of the smartest people that have ever lived that aren't alive anymore. Not really, but like kind of. Like I talk to Socrates sometimes. I had an interview with someone a while back where I was like looking to do some consultant work for their company, and I took his profile online, like his text about him, and I said that this is what I was applying to work with in his company, and I asked it what questions I should ask it as Socrates, because
mhm,
Socrates is the question guy. So he gave some really great questions, and then I kind of altered them and selected a couple so that during the interview, I made sure to have them. You always want to have a couple really great questions. So if it's a job or whatever, so if it's a job, take the job description, take the company's mission statement or whatever, drop it in. And if you know the name of the interviewers, you have their bio or something, drop that in. And then just be like, hey, what are some questions that you would think that would be great to ask during the interview? You could just ask the
mm,
chatbot or you could ask Socrates or whoever.
yeah. We're really living in an amazing age, aren't we? Like
Yeah, it's great.
it's fascinating, and it's evolving so quickly. And
Hmm.
where do you see this going for us in the future? What does the future look like?
I think, like, from a business perspective, there will be a lot of new things that are able to pop up out of nowhere because this is the first time in history that pretty much everything has been on your fingertips if you have a phone and internet access. You basically have an entire marketing team with a chatbot as well as free social media. You don't need to pay £10,000 for a commercial or a billboard or whatever. You can basically just create a trailer. You can make a TikTok. You can build an Instagram following. You can build a community on LinkedIn, whatever you want to do. And then you can use an AI to help you strategize the entire process. So I think there's just tons of opportunities. As for like the riskier side, there's, sentient AI, meaning it can think and feel for itself. And then there's the risk of like quantum computing with cyber hacking and basically anything that is out of your control. If you can, don't focus on it. It's not productive, it's not
Mm,
helpful for you. If anything, it's probably going to like mess with your mental health. Focus on what you can control and focus on what's going to make your life better. And if you can help other people in the process, then do that. And anything that you might have learned, any listeners today, that you can share with someone else in your life, when you start teaching people, you will also learn more. So just share it and help as you go.
wonderful. What great advice. And what about you as an actor as well? What does that look like? Coming back to you as a performer. What is your where are you going, Anna? Where's Anna
I
going?
mean, I think it's really good for people to have different passions that don't
Of course.
necessarily make sense to
Hmm.
people. Like, I mean, my career is quite unusual already, but I'm kind of I take YOLO very seriously. Like, you really do only live once, so if you want to try something or do something, try it. You might not even like it, just try it. Don't live your life with regret. So go for it. As for acting, I'm hoping that like I'll get to continue running my business. It will continue to improve and get better, and I'll have the flexibility to take on acting roles if and when they come. And then if I get to the point where I can fund my own projects, that would be awesome. I've got plenty of stories that I've already thought of. So, you'd write them, you'd produce them, and then you would star in them. That's kind of how that works. Then you'd submit them to film festivals. But I really want to take my life out of other people's hands. And a lot of acting is not up to you. Even
Mm,
if you got the job and you're on set, it's in the hands of the director and the executive producers, and you never really know what's going on behind the scenes. I would really like to have control over my future. So if I happen to get acting stuff, that's awesome. I would really love to do some comedy stuff, some action comedy. That'd be really great. I would think I'd love that. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I think as long as you don't quit, there's always the possibility for success. And I mean, there was a Bryce Dallas Howard gave an interview about something her grandmother told her, and it was like most actors take, I don't know, 54 auditions before they get a part. So just you shouldn't ever consider quitting before 54. And I don't know how many auditions I've actually done. It's not close to 54. It's maybe 20, 30.
Mhm,
20, 30. I'm not really sure. I don't get auditions that often. So speaking to the American thing, I don't actually get as many auditions as you think. I'm not sure if that's because of my show reel or because it's not a huge priority for me in my life to do acting. I just don't think it can be because there's not a lot of like security in it, and it
mhm,
can also be volatile in certain ways. But I love being on set so much. It's one of my favorite places to be. So I would love to do more work in the film industry. Not a priority, but I'm totally open to it. I'm anytime I get a self tape, I try and turn it around within 2 hours. Like I'll just drop what I'm doing and I'll be like, look, we're doing it. We've got sunlight. Let's go. So yeah, I think it's just being flexible and adapting as you go through life.
mhm. I've learned so much from you today, and I really do appreciate you joining me. I'm
Oh,
just
thank you.
thinking of a final question as we wrap this up. What advice would you give to anyone that has or wants to have two careers, one in
Hmm.
performing and creating, and one in the normal business world? Have you got any advice for
Yeah.
anyone starting out in that position?
First of all, do you mean like they're employees or they're entrepreneurs?
Entrepreneurs, I guess,
Okay.
like yourself,
It's
someone like
different.
yourself.
It's different answers.
Yes, of course, yeah. Well, let's
I
talk
would
about both.
say,
Let's say
okay.
as an entrepreneur, you're an
Mhm.
entrepreneur. How
Yeah.
does that fit? How does that having that creative need and
Mm.
running a business as an entrepreneur?
I think if you're planning to be an entrepreneur, you need to do something that you're deeply passionate about. And that can not always be the easiest thing for people to uncover. And there's ways to find out what you're passionate about. Like I use AI for that sometimes with people. If they're really struggling, they're like, I don't know what I want. But it will help drive you through all of the setbacks, which there will be setbacks. There's no successful person out there that hasn't faced really, really painful, difficult setbacks. I think it's trying to keep a certain level of enthusiasm and momentum despite every failure and moving forward in that sense. How to balance it, I mean, it's a day-to-day thing. You can't really plan for it. If there's days that you absolutely can't do, like with our agent, I tell them these days are no. Like they're absolutely no because I'm public speaking. Like I can't damage my reputation for my business by canceling on people. I also don't want to do that for acting either. So I have to block out days that are absolute no's. So if I'm with my family, which is not very regularly, those are off limits. So then the rest of the time, could I drop it? Could I change a meeting if I had to? Yeah, I could if I needed to, if it was like a really important audition to me. I think just be clear about what your goals are. Like, I don't want to do theater. I don't want to do uh, pantomime or pop ups or any of that kind of acting stuff. I'm very particular. It's just kind of like commercials, TV, and film. Those are my only areas. And if something pops up, I'm pretty much all in. So I think
Be
just be clear
careful
about
with
what
your
you want.
choices. Mm,
Yeah, be clear about what you want
mm.
and think about your time and energy. So the reason I stopped doing extras work is because yes, I would make maybe 100, 200 pounds that day, but also the work that I'm doing and the focus that I've got right now on my business is maybe more valuable than that, even if I'm not earning money. Because like depending on what you do, it can be a 12 to 15-hour day on set. The next day, you're tired, you're lethargic, you're not going to be productive. So really you lose 2 days in the process, especially if you
Mhm.
have night shoots. So it's not really worth it to throw off my schedule, like working out, trying to eat healthy and all that stuff, and then getting on set and you got like tons of food and snacks and stuff. um, so I think it's just being clear about what you want and putting certain things in place to make sure that you function sustainably, like mentally, physically, so you can get through. And then if you feel like you're dipping towards sadness, suppression, whatever, figure out ways to put like helpful roadblocks, what I call them. So I go to a lot of networking events because I work alone as a solo entrepreneur the vast majority of the time, which is like a little bit unhealthy. But since I go to networking events every week, every time there's a possibility that I might dip, I see people and I get like the positive reinforcement that I'm doing something good and that people are interested in what I'm doing and I'm making connections and I'm making friends and building relationships. and so it just means that I don't have those dips. So that would be my advice for entrepreneurs trying to do acting.
Great. And what
Um,
about someone that's in that employment then? Because that can be a little bit more
that's
challenging, can't it?
trickier.
Mm,
That's trickier.
I've experienced that. I When I did it, I put things on hold,
Yeah.
because I was like, it's almost then like a choice because your time is more defined.
It depends where your ethical stance is. It depends on your
Mm,
company's policies. If you're working remotely, they don't care where you work and you don't have meetings set up. You maybe have more wiggle room. But if they have a policy where you need to book holiday days 3 weeks in advance, and you do that because you happen to get the filming days 3 weeks in advance, but then they move the filming dates. Oh no, they moved it to the next day. You're like, oh
mhm,
crap, but that's not my holiday day. How do I change it? So if your company's more flexible, that's good. But the thing is, if you have to go for just a fitting, right, which might just be like an hour or 2 hours out, could be 5 hours. You never really know with fittings. Can you do that on a normal workday? Is it going to be a lunch run? Is it going to be something that's going to take up a lot of time? Are you going to get caught and fired for it if you were to do that without telling them? What if you take a sick day because the biggest audition of your life came up and you can't miss it? And you're like,
mm.
crap, I don't have time to book holiday day because it's tomorrow. I'll just call in sick. It really depends on where your priorities are and what your commitments are to the work that you're doing, because obviously like we all need money to survive, so don't really burn those bridges at work because you also will need their references to get another job. So
I
it is
guess
trickier.
so much within that is yeah, is making a choice. What is it you actually want here? What do you
Yeah,
want? Do you want the financial stability and potential career progression that you'd get from normal employment, or do
yeah,
you want to be a performer that doesn't have that? And like I say, I've
yeah.
experienced that. I tried to do a normal job at a point in my life where I did want stability when I had young children
Mm,
and my children were young and I wanted to make sure that they could have certain things. And
of
being
course.
an actor, you can't promise that. Whereas
No.
working in a bank, which is what I did, you can. And
Yeah.
you can give them stability. So I guess at that point it was like the question there is it's more than me is the
Mm.
is
I
what's
think
happening there.
if you can find an employment job that has this level of flexibility, which would be you have a certain number of hours you need to do a week, you have a certain amount of work that needs to be completed every week, but they do not care when you do it, where you do
Hmm.
it, as long as it's done. If you have
Hmm.
a certain skill set that is for a job like that, that is fine. That's probably the best situation you could probably be in and be an actor.
Hmm.
Like, it's better than being an entrepreneur because you're gonna have consistent income, you know what needs to be done every week, so you don't have the mental load of trying to find, like, future clients and doing marketing schemes and, like, doing, different revenue streams. You don't have to worry about that, you're like, "Cool, this is my job, whatevs, I got it going on, I can do it when I want. If I need to do it between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. and I'm just happen to, like, not sleep for 2 days because I have, like, back-to-back filming, whatever." If they definitely need me on a meeting at certain times, like, that's a little bit more complicated. But if I have ultimate flexibility where I just need to get the work done every week, that's your best option. You can find it.
Mm.
It's not easy.
You can find it, but it's not easy. I like that. It can be there.
I mean,
There is
look
an
for
answer.
maternity leave jobs, right? Because those could also turn into more work potentially, but
Yeah.
they're like 3 to 9 months in most cases. So, like, even if something were to go wrong in that job, it's not like they expected full loyalty from you because your situation is temporary, and normally they pay like per week rather than like have you as a proper employee. So if you can look
Mhm.
at ones that have like a day rate or something like that, they're like slightly more flexible because also they might not need you every day. There's
Mm.
risk, there's benefit, there's risk, in
In
everything you
all of it.
do. It depends on which challenge you want in your life. Like there's easier things that I could have done, but these are the
Mhm.
challenges I chose for myself, which mean that maybe other things will be easier for me, but some things they're harder, and it depends on
Mhm.
what you want.
I guess that's the big message that I've got from having this conversation with you today. A lot of it is about mindset and making a choice of what is it
Yeah.
you actually want. But then in the
What
same time, what is it you want? and then
what
at
do
the
you
same
want?
and then at the same time, we now have an assistant that can help us
Yeah,
figure out what we want.
it's so
Use
good.
it.
I
Yeah.
mean, one of the
We
things I tell people as an exercise, if they really don't know what they're deeply passionate about, is if you had all the money in the world, you were literally the richest person in the entire world, you would never have to worry about it ever again, ever. There's nothing you could do to ever run out of money. What would you get up and do every day? Like, what would you get up and do? Would you get up early? What would you do with your life every single day? Because you wouldn't just sit on a beach because eventually that would get boring. So what would you do? Whatever your answer is will be a clue to what you truly care about, what you're truly passionate about. And then if you're not doing that already in your life, you can talk to a chatbot. You're like, this is what I'm doing. How do I add this in? Like I was talking to someone who runs a dog food company, but she really, really loves interior design, and if she hadn't inherited that company, she would have been an interior designer. And I was like, "Well, can you not do interior design with your company?" And she was like, "No, how?" And I was like, "Your company has very high-end clients. Don't you think they might want to design special spaces for their dogs?" And so I basically did a quick exercise with her coming up with like pet food interior design names for this sector of her business. And I was like, then you could have your creative outlet doing something you're really passionate about on top of your business. It will actually add to it because it's a different form of marketing. So it's beneficial. It's not like you have to choose. You can do both.
mm, it's possible.
It is possible.
So where does like I say, I've got so much from this conversation today. But if someone else wants to reach out to you, they want to use your services, and
Yeah.
they where do they find you, Anna?
I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn under Anna Karina Berkman, Architect Anna, whatever. That's probably the best place to just get in touch with me. I'm on there quite regularly.
Mhm.
You can email me at my business, which is hello@markitect.co. Markitect spelled like Mark, the name, it, and then ect. Anyways,
Nice.
but yeah, LinkedIn's probably the easiest. If you just look up Architect Anna, you'll find me. And then
Mhm.
just connect and drop me a message and be like, hey, I heard your podcast. I just like think you're so great. Whatever. Yeah,
Wonderful. And as a performer, they have to get in contact with Flat 50 management. Is that right?
that's true. Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to hire me to do something goofy or whatever, like I'm in.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me. I'm sure
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure we'll meet. Our paths will cross at some point, and we'll meet up in the real world.
I'll see you in the WhatsApp
And
chat. And I'll be like,
we'll
ah,
see.
this guy.
Yes, yes, on the WhatsApp chat. Actually, I've recently started a networking WhatsApp group with all my
Okay.
guests, which I'll
Oh,
invite you to.
yes, I'm in. I
So
love
there's
networking.
yeah, there's I've now, from doing this podcast, met a wide variety of different types of creatives in different fields, and I'm bringing these people together, and some special things are happening. So yeah, I'll
That's good.
invite you to the group, and
Great. Like, I really wanna start a podcast in the next, like, 6 months, and I'm trying to create, like, the
you
guests with
started one
people I really
today. This
well,
is
I
the
mean, like,
beginning
start my
today,
own.
no?
Nah,
Okay, but you could take it from here. Take it
that's
from
true.
now,
That's
and
true.
yeah, this is like
Um,
your little
and
like
also,
pre.
for networking, because I love networking, basically, I also have a YouTube channel, which I haven't updated in ages, but it's called Architect Anna. There is a video on networking if you wanna know how to network or interview or budget. I've got videos on all of that stuff. So, I will restart it at some point, I just haven't. Anyways, so if you want some videos on that, it's there.
Well, I will have a look. I'm doing some I'm going to a podcast event this week,
Mhm.
a podcast networking event in Islington. So do you know what? If you can
Wait,
send that to me.
okay, I've got better advice. This is more
Go
up-to-date
on.
advice. I mean, still watch that video because it's great, but because
Mhm.
this hadn't happened so much at the time, do you know what a smart business card is?
As in, like, have it on your phone ready to go. Like, you
No,
can tap
it's
iPhones,
basically
can't you? And
yes, but a smart business card is like an NFC chipped card. Like a debit card has an NFC chip in it, which basically means you can
mhm,
like scan it. And you can
mhm.
buy 10 NFC chipped cards on Amazon for
I'm,
about
g-
eight
I'm g-
pounds. Huh?
okay. I'm
And
just
then
writing this down.
yeah, sure.
NFC.
NFC,
Okay.
NFC, yeah. And they
Okay.
also have it in stickers, but the cards are more reliable. And
Mhm.
then there's a free app called Hi Hello. Hi Hello. And basically you just set up your profile on the website. It shows you how to connect the NFC card. And
Mhm.
basically you set up your profile and then you just scan the NFC card to your phone and it'll write it to it. And then what you do is you just tap that to people's phones. And then when you're at an event really quickly, it's a great way to just
It
because you can put your LinkedIn on there,
hit
your
all the
email.
phones.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you can set up different profiles. So if
Like
you wanted
Linktree,
one
L
for
I have a Linktree.
yeah.
There I'll
Oh
show
yeah,
you
you can
my
do that. Like
business.
even
I
have
got
your
my
payment.
business I got new business cards. They're next to me. Hold on a
Okay,
second.
bring it.
I was like, "They're next to me," and then they just disappeared, and they weren't next to me, but I've got them. I've got
Okay.
them here. So
I mean, the problem
they're,
is, like, I printed business cards, like I said, 2 days
yeah.
after I got fired, but then, like, the email address changed, the website changed, and then you have to print out more business cards, which is a pain, whereas smart business
Mm.
cards, every time you change a piece of information, you just tap it again and
You
rewrite
just
it.
re-update it.
Just
So
rewrite it, so
my
yeah.
I tried to be a little bit unique with my business cards and, like,
Oh,
I'm
like
like, "Why
coasters.
does bi" yeah, coasters, basically, yeah, like,
Yeah.
you could stick that on the side on your desk, and you will always remember to check out the podcast. Like, why
Mhm.
can't I get that in the camera?
I
Oh, it's 'cause
see
it's
it,
not
I
quite
see it. Yeah.
it's not mirroring. But then on the other side, I just did the QR code.
Oh, QR code. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause everyone
Yep.
knows how to use QR codes now, don't they?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the good
it's
thing is,
just
like, in case you change details related to the QR code,
mhm,
like, the smart business cards are great. Like, I added in this week, I added in my Calendly schedule. So if I was meeting with people that wanted to book in a strategy call to sign up as a founding member to the Mom AI app, then I had Calendly on there, and then I just rewrote the card.
mhm.
So before you go to this event, that's what I would recommend. Just, like,
Get
buy a bunch of those. You can also give them to your friends,
yes.
because it's like 8
Oh,
pounds. You kinda, like, give them away, and you just show them how to use it on the app, and then you're
I've
helping someone else.
I've not heard of these before. I wonder if they do them in like a keyring form or something. Something
They
that's not
do.
like yeah, something that you won't lose, like
They
you
probably
just
do.
always
I
got on
mean,
with you.
the thing is there's a company like Vice, there's a bunch of companies that do smart
Mhm.
business cards, but they cost a lot more money and sometimes they have a monthly recurring fee, whereas you can literally just do it yourself by buying them directly on Amazon
Right.
and spend like way less money. Honestly, you could like what I did was I bought 10 and then I sold 9 of them. Or I sold 7 of them and I gave 2 away as, like, a
Mhm.
value exchange. I, like, was interviewing a mom and she was giving me lots of really good information, so I I gave her one of the cards and showed her how to set it up, and then the other ones I sold for, like, £5, so I actually made a profit on buying them. Business.
Wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I will go
Yeah, no
as soon
problem.
as this conversation ends, I'll go and get some
Yeah,
NFC
NFC, hi,
cards.
hello. Hi, hello.
Hi, hello. Hi, I need
Yeah,
to write hi, hello down as well because I do forget these little
okay.
hi
So, like, it's good because that's free.
because I
You
need to
it's
do I'll
it's
need
free
to do that
forever.
today. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
probably because 'cause it'll probably arrive in, like, 2 days. You've got time.
Perfect.
You can do
Yeah,
this.
I'm going on Thursday, so the
And people think
podcast
it's like a magic trick. Warning, it only works about 85% of the time, depending on if they have NFC chip turned on their phone. And sometimes it's the back of the phone, sometimes it's the top of the front of the phone, and just sometimes they have a rubber case and then it doesn't scan it through.
I I
So,
guess it's in the location of where you are tapping where if you pay, tap and
like
pay.
the top of the back of the phone is generally
Yes.
where I do it. Um, but give it like 2 seconds and you should feel a vibration and then it should pop up. If they don't have internet access, they also can't open it. So it's good to still have the old school printed business cards, but these ones are great for speed.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate your time, Anna, and
Thank you.
I'll speak to you soon, and I'll check out them NFC cards, and yeah, I really appreciate all your knowledge and wisdom that you shared with us today.
Sure. Okay,
Thanks
thank
again.
you.
Oh,
Bye.
and if anyone was listening or watching or
Oh, yeah,
joining us, I appreciate
sure.
you for joining us for this conversation.
We appreciate you, and you have a great
Mhm.
day.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Okay. Okay, bye.